Welcome back. In this video, we'll be going through how to add pages to our website. In the previous videos, you created and named your site, and then you customized the site settings and formatting for your site. And now that the site is set up, we're ready to add pages to the site. So let's get started by logging in to Google Sites. So before we actually log into the sample site, I wanted to show you kind of a finished product of where we're headed. So I've logged into my account and I'm going to actually open up the website that I'm using for the content in our OCDP course. So this is the landing page, and just like we've done for the sample site, I've set it up so that the first page that it opens is the course syllabus. And these are all different headings and heading styles that are being used throughout the site. Now, the one thing you may have been thinking to yourself before that wasn't quite making sense is, how am I supposed to navigate from one page to the other if I took away the sidebar on the left-hand side and I took away all the buttons along the top? Well, that's a really good question. It's something that we struggled with here in ITSO. Because we need it to be removed in order to use it in Laulima, we had to devise a way to still provide us the navigation. The only way built into the site is you would need to go up to the More Actions button, go down to Manage Site, and then along the left-hand side, go to Pages, and that would list all the different pages that we created. But we thought this was a little bit too cumbersome and too many steps for you to go through. So instead, what we did was we built a second page, and that was for our navigation. And to get there, all I have to do is, once I'm on my landing page, I go up into the address bar, and at the very end, after that last /, I'm going to type nav. And that will take us to our navigation page. So the page is called Nav, or navigation for short. And then here I have basically just created my own table of contents. Each one of these links correspond to a web page that I've created in the site. There's one for syllabus. The next one here is file cabinet, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. And then I have all the different pages for the different modules, and you can name them or code them any which way you want. So I've just used a series of bullets, and because we have multiple pages in each of our modules in the OCDP course, each one of those pages corresponds to one of these web pages. Below that are the different home pages, because remember, we can use our Google Site content for home pages, module content pages, as well as for our syllabus. The file cabinet, and let me go ahead and click on that to take me to the file cabinet page. It's basically a resource folder for the website. And so any files that I want to link to, so when I have you do the course readiness, which was in the module 0, I actually uploaded that spreadsheet here into the file cabinet, and then I linked to it from the module. Same thing when we talked about the rubric or the course planning worksheets. All of those were linked into the module content, and then the files live here. So the advantage of having all of the files housed into the file cabinet page is that it makes it very easy for me to see what resources I'm using in my website in case I need to update or modify any one of them. Because they're all in one place, I don't need to track them down and remember which module and which section that file was in. I can come to one place and do the modifications here. All right, so now that we have done a basic tour in the finished site, let's go back to the sample site and let's start creating pages. The landing page where we left off the last time was, it's still going to be used for the course syllabus, but we did borrow it so that we could set up our formatting styles. This will become our syllabus page. So you can now edit that page, and we can change the title of the page to syllabus, and you can remove any of the text you want. And I can now remove our sample text there, because now that it is named syllabus and I click save, that will change. So let's now add our first page to our website. To add a page, we'll go up to the top right, and next to the edit page icon, you'll see the sheet of paper with the plus on it. That's the create page icon. Click on that button and you'll be brought to this worksheet. You will name your page. The first page we're going to create is that navigation page. I'm going to name mine Nav. Now you can name it navigation, table of contents, whatever you're comfortable with, because although you see below that the URL or the site address for that page copies over the name of the page, you can always customize that. One thing to keep in mind, if you name it something like table of contents, first of all, everything is lowercase and anywhere you have a space will turn into a dash. The other thing to keep in mind is you can always change that URL at any time. It's not like when you name your overall site address and your site title, where once you set it, you can change the title, but you can't change the address. Here you can change either one at any time. For the navigation page, there are different types of page templates. We're going to use the default, which is the web page, which is a blank template. And we're always going to keep our pages at the top level. We're not going to create sub pages. Click create and that creates the navigation page, and this is where we would start to create that table of contents. Now you can do it any which way that you feel comfortable. I used bulleted lists. When you create a page, you are automatically brought into editing mode, so you see your editing toolbars. And if you want to just leave the page for now, you click save, and that brings you out of editing mode. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to set the page settings. So click on the More Actions button, and in the first section under Page Actions, click on Page Settings. I'm going to ask you to uncheck all 4 boxes. We do not want the page titles to be shown when we embed that content into Laulima. We're not going to have any sub pages, so we don't need those links. Allow attachments. Now this is the one that I talked about when I showed you the file cabinet page in the OCDP course site. You can choose to have the attachments at the bottom of the page. That's up to you. I choose not to, so I leave mine unchecked. And I'd rather not have comments coming in on the bottom of a web page, so I have unchecked all 4 boxes. I'm also leaving the page description blank. Here is where you can change the address of this specific page, and I'll go ahead and click save. Because I unchecked all those boxes, you can see how a lot of things got removed from my page. So now I'm going to start to build that navigational page. I'm going to back into edit, and I use bullets. I'm going to create the first bullet, and that's for the syllabus page that we already have. And the second one will be for the navigation page. The first thing I'm going to do, just like creating hyperlinks in Word or in your email, you highlight the word that you want to be a link. Go up to the toolbar and click the chain link icon, which is the add or remove link button. And where we have options, I'm not going to use the web address, but instead leave it on Sites page. And you can see it's showing me a list of the pages I have. And because this is the syllabus link that I'm creating, I will simply click on syllabus. I want this to open in a new window, then click OK. That's now turned into a hyperlink. Same thing with navigation page. I highlight it, click on the link button, Sites page, and this is the nav page. Open in a new window, OK. I'll click save. And so here's what I mean about the navigation. I'm right now on the nav page. If I click on syllabus, notice it opens in a new tab. Once I'm done editing this page, I can either click back into the other tab, or I can simply X out of that tab and I go back to my navigation page. The next page we're going to create is a home page. So again, create new page, use the create page button in the top right, name it. So I'm going to name it home page 1. I'm still going to use the blank web page template. Click create. It creates the page. I'm automatically placed in editing mode. I'll save to get out. I'll click on the More Actions button and go straight to my page settings. so that I remember to uncheck the boxes. Click Save. That cleans up my page. Now don't worry, just because I removed the title, you can still see it here in the far upper left corner. And then I will create another page. And this next page I'm going to create is actually for content. And so the content page can have any title you want. So say this is chapter 1. You're still going to use web page. Click Create. Same thing. We're brought into edit mode, so I'll click Save to get out of edit mode so that I can click on the More Actions button, go straight to page settings, customize those settings. The last type of page I want to show you is the file cabinet page. We start the same way. Click on Create Page, name it File Cabinet. But this time, instead of using the web page template, I'm going to use the one called File Cabinet. What that does is it creates the page and it already has preset items on the page. I will still start by going to the More Actions and going to the page settings. Because this page will not be shown to your students, you can opt to leave a lot of these things here. We still won't have subpages, so we can uncheck that. Allow comments, you probably will want to uncheck it unless you are co-teaching this course and you want to have a way to communicate with your collaborator on the site. Otherwise, you can leave that unchecked. Click Save to clean up the page. For this page type, you are not brought into edit mode. So notice you have your normal buttons, no toolbar settings. If you decided to go into edit mode, what you'll actually be editing is only the space between the title of the page and the buttons. You can cancel out and just leave the page as is. To upload files, you simply click on one of these buttons. You can upload a file, you can add a web link, you can add files from your Google Drive. So if I wanted to upload a file from my computer, I click the Add File button, locate the document, click Open, and it will upload the file and it will maintain the file name that you had it on your hard drive. You'll be given two links. One is a view link and one is a download link. It tells you the size, the version, how long ago you uploaded it, and who uploaded it. If you wanted to create a description about this file, as you can imagine, once this list gets rather long, a description would be helpful. There's actually an invisible field right here. See how it changed color when I moved my cursor? Click into that field, and now you can type your file description. If I need to update the file, all I need to do is upload it again. So say I found a typo. I went back into Word, I fixed the typo, and I resaved it using the same file name. When I come back here, I click Add File, navigate back to the same file and click Open. And what it does is it recognizes that it is a duplicate file name, and so instead of having two listings, it replaces the older listing, and now you see V2, version 2. If I click on version 2, it shows you still have access to both versions. All right, so we have created all the different page types to get us started, and not all of them are in our nav page. So let's go ahead and get back to our nav page. So what I'm going to do is up in my address bar, I'm just going to remove that last section after the last / and type nav because that was what I was using. Now I can edit, and I created a home page 1. I created a chapter 1 page, and I created my file cabinet. Again, just to review, highlight, go to the link button, sites page, and this is the home page 1. Make sure that you click open this link in a new window and click OK. Highlight chapter 1, click the link button, sites page, select chapter 1, check the box to open it in a new window, click OK, and file cabinet. Sites page, file cabinet, open it in a new window, OK. Once I've made my changes, click Save. And now anytime I click on any of these pages, a new tab opens and I can simply use that to navigate. All right, so I will end this portion of the video here, and we'll start up in another video where I'll show you how to add content to your pages. All right, so now's a good time to take a break, and I'll see you in the next video.